Welcome to...
Hey, great shot.
This is the Great Shot Podcast, a Cracked Racquets and Tennis Channel podcast network production. My name is Alex Gruskin. After 5 long months of wondering, were we as a tennis community going to get professional tennis back? Were we going to see the ATP, WTA tours resume? Get the opportunity to see our favorite players compete against one another once again? And folks, after 5 long months, that question has finally been answered. The Western and Southern Open kicking off a 3-week extravaganza of tennis in New York. We are so excited to be covering all of the action here at Cracked Racquets. And of course, if you are looking for preview content, what to expect not only for this Western and Southern Open, but of course for the Grand Slam US Open in New York, rest assured we have you covered. Going to be plenty of preview content, videos, articles, podcasts, you name it, we're going to be doing it. But of course, another aspect that we are so excited about here at Cracked Racquets, something we have started to explore quite a bit as of late. But we were done with the exhibitions, let's be honest. It's much more fun to get in on the action when it's Pro Tour events. And of course, I am talking about our GSP Ace of the Day segments brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. So much action to get into, so much fun to be explored. That is why, of course, to kick off our Ace of the Day, our first of this Western and Southern Open, I had to bring on my doubles partner in crime, and the man I will always turn to when we're talking tennis and gambling, Maxwell LeBauer Rothman. Maxie, hey, great shot. Those are words I have not said to you in far too long.
I mean, it was nice to let it roll off the tongue, just that intro. It's been too long, and of course, you think I'm going to miss the first betting pod back? Yeah, you bet your I'm not missing it. Yeah, I'm excited. You know, it's been a while. Betting on basketball is fine. Betting on baseball is fine. But you know where we like to bet, and it's on the tennis, baby. So I'm excited. We've got some good bets for you guys. Hopefully, we can start off this, start of this part of the season strong. Get some of these initial matches right, and hopefully you'll get some faith in us.
Yeah, and of course, when tour action paused, Maxie, we had just hit a parlay that was going to pay for my trip to LA. I was going to come enjoy Indian Wells with you, catch a USC UCLA men's college tennis match as well, my first in-person in LA, and then, of course, we were all stopped in our tracks by the global pandemic. Nevertheless, to something you mentioned there just quickly before we get into today's picks, the exhibitions were so tough, right? World Team Tennis, it's 1 no-ad set to 5. Good luck picking a winner there. For so many of these exhibitions, you're wondering, am I going to get an A, an A-, maybe even a B- performance from some of these players playing in the matches? There is nothing in comparison, Maxie, right, to pro tennis, to tour action.
Yeah, nothing at all. I mean, the actual pressure that these players feel to go out there and win matches. I mean, the money, obviously, for them is a totally different level when we're playing a Masters 1000, right? And then the points, too. I mean, there's nothing like that feeling of going out there and fighting for, your right to keep playing these tournaments moving forward. So, absolutely, it makes a huge difference, and you're going to see, hopefully, A+ effort, at least, from every player out there these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, you alluded to it. When it's an exhibition, the paycheck clears before the match. When it's a tournament, a pro event, an ATP WTA tour, that paycheck isn't coming until afterwards. And so certainly, again, we are so excited to see not only our favorite players competing again, but what they're going to look like as well. And we are kicking this off on a Monday, second round action across the board. Of course, again, we are all really excited for that action. But of course, we got to see a weekend of play before. And, it's only one round, but we haven't had data on so many of these players in 5+ months. So a lot of takeaways from those first round matches. Those are going to inform a lot of the picks we are making today. Of course, speaking of checks clearing, all of you should know you can get a little bit of your cash in your pocket right now. You can get in on all of the action thanks to our friends at DraftKings. And we say this all the time. And Maxie, you know it's true. Our Cracked Racquets fans are the most well-informed, the best educated tennis fans in the business. Well, why not take advantage of that action, of that fact, and get it in on the action, I should say, with our friends at DraftKings. Here's how it works. You're going to go to DraftKings.com, create your DraftKings Sportsbook account, and make a deposit. From there, as part of this offer, DraftKings will match your first deposit at 20% up to $500. So already you're getting some cash in your pocket. Well, it gets even better from there, folks. You're going to make your first bet, and DraftKings is going to match that with a risk-free first bet of up to $500. And maybe you, like Maxi, like myself, didn't actually get in on any of the exhibition matches. Sure, some of those odds tempted you, but you were waiting for the real thing to return. Well, take advantage of that risk-free first bet. The way you do it, you go to dkng.co/greatshot. That's dkng.co/greatshot to take advantage of this offer. Remember, deposit bonus is in DK dollars, which have no cash value and must be used on DraftKings. Offer not valid for users physically located in New Hampshire. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for more details. But again, dkng.co/greatshot to get in on all of the action. Maxi, it feels only fitting that I bring you back on one of these podcasts and we have an actual promo code. Who would have thought? I'm sitting on my couch in my college apartment. It's June. I'm getting ready to enter the real world. I said, hey, you want to record with me? Now we have a DraftKings promo code.
I mean, that's again, this is all a joke, right? This whole thing is a hilarious joke. But yes, use our promo code. I used it when I signed up, and even better, the whole website is just really easy to use. I know we're going to be looking at the website and the odds for tomorrow and moving forward when we do these pods, and it makes it easy. It's they're right there, and I know I get these probably once a day. If you want to not place a bet and just see what your wager would look like, you can do a fake one, and it'll let you place that. And I get these every single day from Gruskin. 6-7 match parlays, absolutely heinous. And we'll probably go over one or two of those today. But absolutely use our promo code and get going on DraftKings.
See, this is why I brought you back on the pod. This isn't, first of all, I didn't bring you back anywhere. I apologize for that connotation. This is why I needed you back on the podcast, because I needed you to rein me in, as always. I have thoughts. I have ideas. And by the way, that sets the scene for today's action. Last administrative note, obviously, you want to place these wagers at 8 a.m., right? East Coast time. You want to get them in comfortably before the matches actually start. In terms of releasing these podcasts, I mentioned it's not just going to be a podcast. It's going to be a YouTube video. We're going to try and get the podcast out to you, by midnight, latest 8 a.m. the morning before the matches start. We're going to try and get that video out to you again similarly, but rest assured you will be able to hear our picks as soon as we make them. With that in mind, just a quick reminder, $100 for both Maxi and I to spend today. We can spread them across the board. And I said, Maxi, I need 3 to 4 things from you. I need your upset of the day, I need your parlay of the day, and then I need your ace of the day, the one, of course, that we are locking in. Now, if he wants to lock in anything else along the way, of course, that's his prerogative. It's my prerogative, and we want to hear from you listeners if you think you have any insight to the action going on. But with that in mind, Maxi, let's start with our upsets of the day, because I think if we've learned anything through the first weekend, it's the fact that some of this play, it's going to be pretty sloppy. Yes, certainly some of the top players have still looked really good along the way. You think of Tsitsipas today, just worked Kevin Anderson. Now, physically worn out Kevin Anderson, but still worked him. Maria Sakkari working Coco Gauff. She's the 13th seed. That makes sense. Now, there are examples the other way as well, but when you look at this thing, the thing I'd notice most, it's not about what your ranking is. It's what you did the past 5 months. If you played matches, I think you have an advantage, even if you're playing against a slightly higher ranked opponent. With that thought in mind, there have been upsets galore. Give me your upset of the day.
So, it's funny. I don't know if I could necessarily call it. No, it is an upset. And we talked about this, and, I talked about it as well with a name you've heard on the show before, Cale Hammond. We were discussing the Dan Evans and Andre Rublev match. And going into that, we've mentioned how damn hard Rublev hits that forehand, and it's hot in Cincy. You'd think the ball might carry through the court a little bit, although it is a little humid, so there's that factor too. And Dan Evans just matched up perfect with him, and I don't think people thought that was a match that he was going to win, but watching him, he looks good, and that actually leads me to one of my bets that I'm going to place, if you're going to let me jump ahead to that too. This next match that he has with Milos Raonic, they've got Dan Evans on DraftKings at plus 125 and you bet your I'm taking him. He looks good. If anyone's hitting a forehand as hard as Rublev, it's probably Milos Raonic. And Dan Evans is going to be there to block it back, redirect the pace, use that slice to his advantage. I think he's going to take that one.
So before you lock it in, can I give you the counter? This is why, again, to do these on my own the first 3 weeks, I was just asking for punishment because any crazy idea, I would just throw it out there for the listeners to hear. I'd be like, what do you think of this idea? Is it pretty good? And of course, in my head, when I hear the listeners responding, they're like, oh yeah, Alex, you're the greatest. But that's obviously not the case. And so I'm going to push back on you here. Here's the difference between Andrei Rublev and Milos Raonic in a nutshell. And again, that was a 3-set physical match Rublev played against Evans. Milos Raonic is going to hit that big shot, and he's going to move in behind it. There were a lot of Dan Evans floating slices that were just begged to be taken out of the air. Andrei Rublev doesn't do that. Milos Raonic does. And I know, Milos Raonic, straight set win, very straightforward, 2 breaks of serve against Sam Querrey in his first match. He wasn't really tested. I think that's such an advantage for all of these people to not be match tough. If you have an easy weapon at your disposal, it's translatable. Doesn't matter the match. Milos Raonic's serve is always going to be big. Doesn't matter how much match tough you are. I just think that serve to the one-handed backhand, he's going to have opportunities to come in. Dan Evans likes to play with his food. Milos Raonic is going to have chances to move forward. That's a stay away from me, but it's an either or as well.
So I hear you, and we don't want to spend too much time on this match, but look, if you watched a little bit of the Rublev-Evans match, Rublev actually did come in a little bit more than I think I'm used to seeing him do, and maybe that's just I forgot how he plays because it's been so long since we've gotten to see him play real competitive tennis. But he moved in a little bit more than I expected, and Dan Evans handled it wonderfully. So I just think at plus 125, you're getting pretty good odds on Dan here, and I still think it's a good underdog bet.
I haven't had you in a while, and I know we're trying to get through these under 20 minutes quickly. Are you someone who believes in betting one match? What are the odd ranges you want to bet? If you're just betting one match, what are you trying to look for in terms of odds? No worse than, no better than.
Well, I guess it depends, right? This is a match that I think we would both agree is going to be relatively tight, but I think Dan is a clear underdog, and I think actually you might see that line move a little bit further from 125 maybe to 130, 135 as people get closer to the match and they're like, oh, Raonic has this in the bag. So you might even get better odds. But yeah, I mean, you want to just weigh the risk of how tight is this match? How much of an underdog are they? Like, take, for example, Murray's playing Zverev. They've got Murray at plus 163 and Zverev at minus 205. Yes, Murray just beat Tiafoe, but I don't know. Zverev is a different level of player. I don't know if 163 is quite enough to get me to bet on Murray. I'd probably need it closer to a plus 180, plus 200 for me to find that bet to be, worth the value.
That match should be a stay away from me because no matter which way I bet it, I'm going to be happy no matter who wins. So just
happy and sad, no matter.
Yeah,
what.
Exactly. So I was the same way with Murray Tiafoe, but if that's ever the case, just stay away from it. Of course, I didn't. But no, those are again. I don't hate those. I mean, Evans is playing as well as anyone, right? He reached a career high this year. He is, I think, in the race to the year-end finals, a top 20 guy right now. Certainly, his level 2 wins over Rublev. That's awfully impressive. I don't dislike the pick. It's just not for me personally. I wouldn't make it my ace of the day. We'll get to that, whether that's a lock in for you or not. I just want to get to my upsets because, again, we're trying to keep these just so you can get your picks in, have a little bit of knowledge in the background. My 2 upsets, straight up underdog picks for me. Reilly Opelka, who in our preview podcast I thought was going to make the quarterfinals. He has, obviously a tricky matchup against Diego Schwartzman. You look at it, Reilly Opelka, obviously, it doesn't need to be said, 7 feet tall. Diego Schwartzman, a generous 5'7", 5'8", and just the way Opelka can serve, that's going to give Schwartzman difficulties. And Opelka's one of the few guys. I think there are 16 events, maybe 12 different title winners in 2020. Opelka's one of those guys who won a title, right? He went down to Del Rey, he took that championship. He's just becoming more and more confident. He played matches. He played in Atlanta. He played in Miami, and when we got to see him in person, I'm a believer in Reilly Opelka. I thought he looked really dominant against Cam Norrie. I just like his odds. What is he? Reilly Opelka, you look at his odds, plus 102, so it's pretty even. $10 gets you 10-20 back. That's not a lot, but I like him from an upset perspective. I also like Jessica Pegula, who's plus 150 over Amanda Nisanova. Pegula, arguably the second, either the first, second, or third best player during the entire World Team Tennis season. She looked really good when we saw her at the Exos in July in Lexington. She looked good last week when she played, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, in Lexington when she played. I'm looking it up now. I apologize. Some of you are going to see me look this up as I go. Who did she play in Lexington? Who did she lose to? I don't want to be wrong. I think it wasn't Serena. It was Shelby Rogers, maybe, who she lost to. I don't remember exactly who it was. I'm looking at it now. Cece Bellis, excuse me. She lost that match, just was misfiring a little bit. But I'm a believer in Jessica Pegula. She came through qualifying here, beat Shelby Rogers. Good win in her first round. You parlay those two together versus an Amanda Nisanova who got a good first-round win but hasn't played that many matches in 2020. Pegula, Opelka parlay together, plus 405 odds. $10 yields you 40-50 in return. I like the sound of that, Rothman.
Well, now there's too many thoughts for me to respond to. Maybe they'll take this step by step. Reilly Opelka. Yes, I honestly did. That was my second, underdog choice. It's so hard to even call him an underdog in this match.
Yeah.
I mean, plus 102 is about as close to even as you're going to get. But yeah, I would take him in this match all day. His last match with Schwartzman was Miami last year, where he won in 3 sets. And I think we'd both agree he's only gotten better since then. And I think these are the right conditions for him. So, yeah, I would take that bet too. I would also take...
Courts are playing quick. Quickly to what you said. Agree. Courts are allegedly playing quick. That obviously favors a Reilly Opelka.
Absolutely. And I don't know. I think there's spreads on this match too. Yeah, I mean, they've got at plus 3.5. I want to get the games because I think that might be worth taking too. They've got, oh wow. So the cool thing about DraftKings is it lets you take it at every single option. If you wanted to say it's over 20.5 games, you're minus 385 because it's probably going over 20.5 games. You are going to expect a 7-6, 6-4, something like that. It's going over 20.5. I mean, I think this is going 3 sets.
Even 7-6, 6-1, by the way, that's 20 games. Let's say someone wins a tiebreaker, then the second's a blowout.
Right. And the 2 matches they've played have gone 3 sets. I mean, you could honestly even take this at over 26.5 games at plus 130 and probably be safe. So
yeah,
I like that
real
match.
Quickly,
and then the only other thing I was going to address was your underdog match on the women's side, because you mentioned Cece Bellis and how she lost to Cece Bellis, and that's a match that I was considering taking as an underdog because she's our girl, as you know. I know you've gotten some good quality time with her in the last couple weeks, and according to you, I'm taking your word for this. Sabalenka didn't look too good at Lexington, and she lost her second round match. I think Cece could be I mean, look, that's a risk. If you guys want to take this risk with me and take Cece at plus 155, that's a risk you're willing to take, and I think it'd be fun. I want to take her to cheer her on.
Yeah, no, I have no problems with that pick. My problem is and you'll all hear this, listeners, I did a podcast with Ben Rothenberg. Part 2 is going to come out this week. My most interesting women to watch. Sabalenka's on that list, so I'm not going to go into it right now. You can hear it there. But never bet with your heart, and that's what a bet on Cece Bellis is always for me.
True.
And I can't make it right now. I don't hate it by any stretch of the imagination, but I certainly don't know if I want it. But I mentioned a parlay there, Pegula Opelka. You know I'm always a fiend for a good parlay. Max Rothman, give me your parlay, please.
Okay, so this one's tough. I really wanted to do a underdog parlay, but because we've kind of done some underdogs, I'm not going to. I'm gonna do a 3-match parlay, and I'm gonna take Taylor Fritz over Bedene at minus 265. I'm going to take Denis Shapovalov over Struff, and this is a tough one for me because I think that's a scary match, but Shapo looks really good right now. He looked really good in his last match, and I want to take him. And then you're going to hate this, but I'm taking Zverev in this parlay as well. And that's also a scary one. But I think the odds make it worth it. I think if you put those together, I actually need to try it now, but it's a pretty good bet.
So run me through that one more time. What is the parlay, the odds, and the yield?
So if you're going to take Shapo, Zverev, and Fritz in that parlay, you're plus 239, which feels pretty dang good to me. I mean, Fritz looks pretty solid. He's been playing some tennis. Like I said, Shapo looks really good in his first round, and Zverev too. So I like it. Plus 239, sign me up.
No, those are pretty good odds. I'm going to keep this brief because it gets funky. You can just give me your reaction. Do you want the men's or the women's first?
Give me the women's.
Okay. Katerina Alexandrova, who I've been adamant about. Top 15 player in 2020. Really good win for her over Rybakina. She continues to play well. Minus 210 over Christina McHale, who had a really good upset win today, but an upset win nevertheless. I think Alexandrova's been better this year. Her. Yastremska, you know my love for her, also in the Rothenberg pod, minus 265. Osaka, minus 148 over Muchova. And that's a tricky one because we haven't seen Osaka in a while. We've seen a lot of Muchova, and she's looked good when we've seen her. Serena, minus 835 over Rus, and Elise Mertens, finalist in Prague on the clay 2 weeks ago. She's played really well of late, minus 360 over Mladenovic. So those 5 names, Alexandrova, Yastremska, Osaka, Serena, Mertens, plus 392 odds, $10 bet yields you $39.19 in return. Pro or con?
It's a lot of matches, a lot of area for it to go wrong. You'd hope that would be a little bit more than plus 390, but it's not unheard of. It's funny because I actually in one of my potential parlays that I wrote down, I just had Osaka and Yastremska, and I think if you just narrow it down to those two, you're pretty safe. But yeah, I don't think that is an impossible scenario by any means.
Yeah, the problem is those odds, just Yastremska and Osaka, are pretty booty. So it's just it's not worthwhile. All right, next one for you, men's. Medvedev over Giron, minus 500. You've already expressed Fritz and Zverev. I agree with you. They're minus 265, minus 205, respectively, over Bedene and Murray. Last one, Djokovic, minus $1 billion over Berankis. You parlay Djokovic, Zverev, Fritz, Medvedev, plus 162 odds, $20 bet yields you $32.40 in return. Good, bad, eh.
I mean, if Djokovic and Medvedev lose, I don't even know what I'll do. So yeah, you're just kind of banking on Zverev.
If Zverev loses, I don't know what I'm going to do. If you lose to this Andy Murray, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, hint, that might be an ace of the day. All right, now it's time for me to get really funky with you. And again, home stretch here of the podcast, I promise, folks, because we really are going to try and keep these no longer, I always say, than 20, probably going to hit the 25-30 barrier. But come on, it's Maxwell, Bauer, Rothman. You pay what you get for it. You get that. Yeah, you get those bonus points. But now it's time to get funky. I mentioned all of those 9 favorites, right? Alexandrova, Yastremska, Osaka, Serena, Mertens, Medvedev, Fritz, Zverev, Djokovic. I'm confident in all 9.
This is what I deal with. I get these freaking screenshots of 9 matches, and he's like, tell me I'm crazy. It's like, yeah, you're crazy, dude.
Well, anyways, I agree with you. But nevertheless, those 9 favorites plus 1,187 odds, $10 bet yields you $128.66. How are we not going to do that? I have been with you when we have burnt $10 in a worse way than that.
Yeah, let's do it. I think, you don't have to twist my arm too hard for those kind of bets. I mean, look, we hit a 4-match underdog parlay for 1,200, so.
And it got us to freaking LA. That's what I'm saying. This is why I needed to have you. This is the problem. It's twofold. It's both a problem and a benefit because you rein me in, but then sometimes you fan the flames, and in a good way. And it's like, yes or no? Because I'm going to make it an ace of the day if you're in with me.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay. Lock of the day. My other risky parlay, I sent this to you and Kale already. You said, Alex, I don't hate it. Your first reaction was, ooh. And then your next reaction was, you know what? Maybe not. So here's why I'm okay with that 9-match parlay, because it goes into this parlay. Every day is going to have upsets, right? My thinking is I know where the upsets are coming from. By the way, that's where you get in trouble, folks. But I can see upsets happening during the day. I just don't think it's going to be upsets of those favorites. The people I think are going to get upset, I said it in our preview pod, Paulo Carreno Busta, not arguably, he has been one of the top 12 players in the world on hard courts over the past 5 years. I looked up all of these stats over the Big 7 hard court results. He's in every list you want to include. I said he's going to make the quarterfinals of this event. He's plus 110 against Khachanov, who obviously Khachanov hasn't played.
There's a reason he's plus 110, right? I mean, that's pretty close.
Yeah, so PCB plus 110. Struff Dog, who we love here at Cracked Racquets, plus 133 over Shapovalov. If I picked Shapovalov to make the quarterfinals, so I don't love this wager, I'm probably not going to make it my ace of the day, but Struff, you can't deny how well he played. So PCB, Struff, Opelka, Tennis Sandgren, who was one of the 5 best players of the exhibition months. He just really was. He looked that fit. He played that well. Plus 200 over FAA, and then I already made the case for Pegula. So PCB, Struff, Opelka, Sandgren, Pegula, plus 7,300, 13 odds, Maxi. $10 wager yields you 721.19 in return. No, 731.19 in return. Excuse me.
The only hard one for me is Shapo, because as you know, I
agree.
I put him in my parlay.
And he played well in match
really,
one.
really well. So,
but the big serve to the one-handed backhand is the thing that had me thinking. That's always something I noticed.
You bring up that argument so many
times.
No,
but for Shapo in particular, right? Because he's a slapper, and when you're hitting that big and trying to hit big off of that, that's not easy.
No, it's not, but the dude's one-hander is arguably top 5 in the world, and he's able to handle it, so I don't know. What happens if you take the Struff one out, and you just...
It's not as good.
Dang, yeah.
The thing is, so I'll look that up as we go. Struff's the match in that one. I mean, Sandgren, FA, your thoughts there?
No, I like it. I was watching Sandgren play, and, I mean, he's ripping. He looks fit. He's playing smart. He fought back in his tiebreak today. He was down, I think, 6-3 in that second set tiebreaker, and the mental game looked good.
How about this? We replace Struff with Evans. Or not Struff with Evans. Yeah. Struff with Evans, because they're both plus 125.
That'll take. That one I'll take for sure.
All right, well, with that in mind, then let's wrap, because we have given our cases. I have my aces of the day. You have your ace of the day. We've gone through it. I'm going to go with mine first, and then you can tell the listeners what you're going with. My aces of the day, folks, and I've made the case across the board. I'm going to put $20 on the plus 162 odds. Medvedev, Fritz, Zverev, Djokovic, 32.40 in return. I just want to build myself a little bit of equity. I think that's the best way to do it. That is one of my aces of the day. I really do believe in Reilly Opelka. I'm going to stick to my guns here. Another 20 on him, 20.40 back in return. That plus 102 odds aren't great, but I just think matchup-wise, I like Opelka over Schwartzman in this one. That's another lock. My last one, I talked you into it, therefore I talked myself into it. 9-match parlay, the 9 men's and women's favorites. Go through them one more time. Alexandrova, Yastremska, that's the one I'm worried about versus Bernarda Pera. Alexandrova, Yastremska, Osaka, Serena, Mertens, Medvedev, Fritz, Zverev, Djokovic. 9-match parlay, all favorites, you bet. A kind little $10 wager on them at plus 1,187 odds. You're going to get 128.66 in return. Let's roll the dice. Those are my aces of the day. Maxie, what do you got?
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to stick with my Shapo, Fritz, and Zverev parlay. $20 on that is $239, yielding you 67.85. I really like it. I think they're all playing well. I'm going to take them there. I'm going to join you on the Opelka train. I'd like Opelka. So if you throw 20 on him, you're yielding 40-40. I'm also going to throw 20 on Dan Evans, because I think that he looks so solid, as I said. Putting 20 on Dan Evans yields you 45, so I've got $40 left. If you move over to the women's side, I'm going to put $20. Oh, man, I'm torn what I want to do.
Welcome to the club.
I know. I mean, I've got... Yeah, I've got $40 left, right? I mean,
You do?
give me 20 on CC, which
Okay. I hope you're writing this down, by the way.
Yeah, no, I've got them written down. Give me 20 on CC, and then give me 20 on... So, look, I'm feeling bold on my first time back here, and I'm going to throw my last $20 on a Yastremska, Osaka, Anisimova parlay. $20 yields you 70.94. It's plus 255. I think it's hitting.
Yeah, so give me the rundown of them one more time. Just the bets, not the thinking. Just to run them through. Sorry, because I love the live thinking, but give it to me one more time.
So we're going that parlay, the Yastremska, Osaka, Anisimova. We're going just a CC Bellis straight up $20 bet. And then we're moving over to the men's side, and we're going to go a straight up Dan Evans over Milos Raonic. We're going to go a straight up Reilly Opelka over Schwartzman. And then we're going a little parlay action, Taylor Fritz, Alex Zverev, and our man, Denis Shapovalov. Yes, sir.
All right. I love it, Maxie. And, of course, hopefully you found maybe one or two of those 5, 7, 9 picks, however many we just made, to enjoy yourself. And we will encourage all of you, go get in on the action. Why listen to this when you can do it yourself? You think you can beat the experts? Not that we are experts, but the bookmakers certainly think they're experts. You think you can beat them? Go do it at DraftKings.com. Use our promo code DKNG.co/greatshot. Get a little bit of money in your pocket, a risk-free bet as well. Shout out, as always, to the super producers, Max Fligner and Daniel Westoff, for the of an editing job they do day in, day out. Remember, we are going to be doing these every day now. There is so much action for us to get in on. We have a Masters and Premier Mandatory. We have a Grand Slam all coming up the next 3 weeks in New York. We are so excited for all of that action. You can follow along with us on this podcast, the Mini Break podcast, Cracked Interviews podcast, on our website, crackedrackets.com, on our YouTube channel as well. And of course, we look forward to bringing on my doubles partner in crime, the man behind the scenes who I always turn to for advice with all things tennis and gambling, Maxwell Bauer Rothman. Maxie, any final thoughts?
Excited to be back, excited to make some money, and let's do this.
Well, then, with that in mind, for my wonderful co-host, Maxwell Bauer Rothman, our super producers, Max Fligner and Daniel Westoff, our friends at DraftKings, and all of us here at both Cracked Rackets and the Tennis Channel Podcast Network, I'm your host, Alex Gruskin. Maxie, what do we tell the listeners?
Hey, great shot.
And we will see you all tomorrow. May the odds be ever in your favor.